the choices that we have throughout life are where the muscle of integrity, the muscle of character is developed. In lifting weights, for example, if you lift a light weight 100 times, it's not going to build muscle. It's when you build something, it's when you lift something that really pushes your capacity. And maybe you can only lift that thing 3 times, but it's the 3rd time that works the most. Yeah. It's the hardest lift. That's what actually accomplished the most. And when we have difficult situations rise up in our life, it's always for the purpose of building character. It's never to shame, it's never to mock, it's never to intimidate or humiliate. It's always the invitation to come into Christ, into a place of greater strength. That's why in 1 Thessalonians 5, he says, rejoice always, pray without ceasing, in everything give thanks, for this is God's will in Christ Jesus concerning you. Think through this now. Rejoice always, pray without ceasing, in everything give thanks, for this is God's will in Christ concerning you. One of the most overwhelming, I shouldn't say overwhelming, one of the most frequently repeated prayers or requests from this family of believers, especially including our school, is this heart to know God's will for our life. And generally what that is reduced to is, God, do you want me to be a missionary or a veterinarian or a school teacher or a pastor or whatever? We want to do what he wants us to do. It's a legitimate prayer. It's a legitimate request. I'm not sure God's as concerned about that as he is about this. This says, rejoice always, pray without ceasing, in everything give thanks, for this is God's will in Christ concerning you. This is the will of God for my life. I remember as a young man, just starting to pastor in Weaverville, I was reading through Thessalonians, reading through these verses, and these verses just jumped out at me. Rejoice always, pray without ceasing, in everything give thanks. And I came face to face with the fact, man, I could only have those 3 verses, and it would take the rest of my life for me to learn it. I mean, if I had nothing else to read but those 3 verses, I'd have a full-time job ahead of me, because to rejoice always, to pray without ceasing, and everything give thanks. It just means you have disciplined responses to levels of difficulty and challenges and opportunities that you face. You have disciplined responses that help to form and to shape the character in us. And remember, it's that character that is able to carry the weightiness of what God is doing in the earth. He's looking for people he can entrust himself to.